how low down the media totem pole do you have to be that this is the best that you can get? Are you one of those podcasts that no one listens to?
The brutalizer. The bastard.
Are you continuing on? Are you done?
The American Nightmare.
You didn't even watch AEW.
No, but I figured that's what we'd talk about
Stop
first.
name dropping AEW. First and foremost, I need to answer Zach Gibson's question that you heard at the top of this show, and the answer is yes.
We
are a podcast that nobody listens to, except for us. Welcome to Discover Progress, the podcast that used to be about progress wrestling, and now, well, it's
actually
about whatever.
Still about progress.
Yeah,
plus
because
other things.
We're going to talk about We're going to talk about chapter 95. I was about to say 25.
95.
I'm not even on 25 in my old watching. I'm
No.
still on WrestleMania, which is either 18 or 19. I can't remember exactly. But we are going to talk about Progress Chapter 95 because we finished it. We are going to talk about some AEW briefly.
Dynamite.
Dynamite.
Oh.
We're also going to talk about NXT UK and NXT because
It's all happened.
Yeah, it was a big week for you and myself anyway, in watching wrestling that had, like big surprises and stuff like that. So we're going to start, unless you have a question. Do you have an Adams question of the day?
I do not.
All right.
I forgot.
It's falling apart.
I'm just...
I don't know why we give you the jobs that we give you. You clearly can't handle the responsibilities, but it's okay.
That's fair.
So we'll just jump right in then and talk about Progress Wrestling, Chapter 95.
Does this come... Hello?
Yes, you can see.
Ow.
And the show that it started off with a tag match. Speaking of Zach Gibson, he was in the very first match.
Grizzled young veterans.
Him and James Drake. It was supposed to be the grizzled young veterans versus Aussie Open. And then one of them neither of them pulled out due to injury. We had a surprise. Yes. And it answered a question. And I guess the question had already been answered, but in the discussion of NPS, Natural Progression Series with Progress, whether or not, now keep in mind, we are a podcast that talks about Progress Wrestling, but outside of the very first Natural Progression Series, this is only the second one I've seen, the one that just happened. So, because last one wrapped up and everything happened outside of me watching. But we did have a question of whether or not you could cash that when you win an NPS 6, you get a title shot, and whether or not you could cash that in on any title. And the answer to that is
yes.
Yes, you can, because Scotty Davis, the winner of this year's Natural Progression Series, comes out before the match starts, and he's all like, I'm cashing in. And then, here's my partner, Jordan Devlin.
Yeah.
Man, it was amazing. So good. So it was a triple threat match. Grizzled Young Veterans, Aussie Open, against a team yet to be named, Scotty Davis and Jordan Devlin. Jordan Davis. Both could easily be actual people.
Yes.
And it was a good match.
It was a great match.
It was a great match. Good way to start. It's funny because when we were watching, I think you're like, I got to go use the washroom. And so I was like, all right. So I started watching or continued watching or whatever. And you were gone and this happens. And I was like, pause. And I go jump back. And then you took a while. And I was like, fine, I can't. I'm going to watch this. He's not coming back. And then you already had spoiled it for yourself anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're a piece of shit who spoils things for himself. Even though, speaking of spoilers, I had the entire back half of this show.
Go for it.
I had the entire back half of this show already spoiled for me. Plus, we'll talk about other things that were already spoiled for me later on. It's we live in a world. We live in a world where if you don't want spoilers,
if you're not careful on the internet.
Well, and see, here's my thing. I will say this about spoilers: the spoilers that I got for Chapter 95, I did everything to avoid them.
Yeah.
I literally went on and I muted Progress. I muted hashtag, like NPS 6, hashtag Chapter 95, all this stuff. And then what got me was that on my personal Twitter, where I have since unfollowed Mark Andrews. Nothing against Mark Andrews. I'm like, I follow him on the wrestling Twitter. It's good enough. He had posted a picture that spoiled the main event, and I went, well, dang. And I didn't even think anything of it because he wasn't on the show.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like, I just opened up Twitter one day on my personal one where I assume I'm safe. Nope. They got me. But anyway, you had spoiled actually the entire finish of that match.
Yes.
Which you then spoiled
Which
for me.
I then spoiled for you, yes.
I was all like, man, something happened. And you're like, oh, Scotty Davis and Jordan Devlin. I was like, yeah. And I think you said when you looked up like the history of the Progress tag team title. I was like, so you just spoiled it for me.
I was like,
I guess
shit.
I did. Yeah. Which is the worst. Worst. I caught you. What were we watching? It was because when we were watching
Satomura.
NXT.
We were watching. I was going to look up something about Mako Satomura.
Oh, okay. I thought we were watching NXT and you did it as well. Oh no, I think it was Mako. And I was like, don't look it up. You're like,
I was just
thank you.
And then I caught myself doing it with something else on NXT, and I went to
don't
look up
the history of titles
crap.
when you're watching a title match that isn't live. You can't do it. You can't even open your phone because you get notifications that spoil stuff for you.
I literally have a thing that if I swipe left on my homepage,
you have to rethink your life.
It gives me notes.
It
gives me news, and like it's targeted news. Yeah. So half of it's about wrestling.
Turn that off. Or just flood your news feed with like things that don't matter. Puppies and kittens. Just cat videos.
Puppies.
Puppies.
Jerry the King Lawler's
back.
Favorite thing.
Hooray.
Puppies.
Although I can't remember if it was on the show we were talking about this or if we were just talking about it for fun, but it'd be hilarious if Jerry the King Lawler went on like this big puppy, like everything was all about puppies, but it was legit because WWE had partnered with like the SPCA or something, and they were trying to get animals adopted. And so Jerry,
it was just him with a bunch of literal dogs,
King's puppies, and it's just literally him with dogs. If you want to adopt this little guy, call this 1-800 number on your screen now.
Yes.
But yeah, so new Progress Tag Team Champions, awesome. Because Scotty Davis, we talked about it when we discussed NPS 6. Made himself look like a star. Yeah. He's real good. There were a couple of names that I think kind of broke out with the Natural Progression series this year, including a guy who shows up in the second match, which we then spoiled
Pete Dunne versus
because it's the Pete Dunne Open Challenge. And because we watched the tag match one day and then came back the next day. And the problem is with the old Progress shows on Demand Progress, you can actually just click on the match. Now, sometimes you would miss stuff. Like, for instance, if you clicked on the first match instead of just hitting play, you'd miss like the 5-minute intro video
stuff,
thing they did, right? But you can't do that anymore. It just plays all the way through, which Progress Wrestling, bring it back. It was
Please.
It was amazing.
Or timestamps.
Or timestamps, yeah. If they introduced comments like on YouTube, so people could timestamp, whatever the case may be, it would be fantastic. But, so we skipped ahead, and I was like, oh, that's Cara Noir. And then I was like, oh, he's going to be answering the Pete Dunne challenge, isn't he? And sure enough, he was, which was fine. And, it was like, whatever. It just kind of took away from the surprise a little bit because they actually did an open challenge correctly.
Yeah.
Whereas NXT UK, as we talked about on Takeover Cardiff, let's say Takeover Wales.
Cardiff.
Close enough. But Takeover Cardiff, I was like, you kind of bunged that one up by Ilya announcing he was accepting the challenge before Cesaro even got out there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great match. Just like
match. And you knew it was going to be a great match. But I love the whole reason for open challenges is that mystery for when the music hits or the lights cut.
Yeah.
That's the whole reason. You want that pop. And why in the world NXT UK just completely took that and went, it's the one thing that wrestling has that literally nothing else has.
Yeah.
Like if you want to talk about in like the world of, sports / entertainment, like sure, maybe on a written TV show you can bring out big surprises in some way like that, but you don't get a live crowd reaction with that, right? Mm-hmm. So NXT UK, and you know what? If Uncle Jim was a part of that call on NXT UK,
wouldn't have
shame
happened.
on him. Maybe he learned his lesson.
Maybe
he's like, no, we're not doing that again.
It's silly.
So anyway, Cara Noir, Pete Dunne,
banger of a match.
Again, another great match. Yeah,
starting off hot.
Yeah, for sure. And then Pete Dunne basically saying, you know what? It's been a while. It's not the end for me here. I'll be back. And then he said, and when I do come back again, we should have a rematch. To which he stuck out his hand to shake it. Cara Noir thought about it, went to shake it, and then Pete Dunne did his Pete Dunne thing until he pulled it away and then did his, what face. Classic Pete Dunne.
So classic.
Classic Pete Dunne. But yeah, no, it was great start to the show. And I mean, this is the thing. It was, it's their biggest show of the year must consistently be in September for whatever reason. I mean, I guess you're not piggybacking any other big shows, so why not? But yeah, no, it's off to a really good start with those two matches. I'm trying to think what the third match was.
Oh, it was NXT and NXT UK.
Oh, yeah, the tag
alumni,
match. Yeah,
Mustache Mountain
yeah.
versus NXT alumni.
The Limitless
Bros.
Wait, what? Who?
Oh,
Keith
you don't
Lee
know?
and Matt Riddle, yeah.
Keith Lee and Matt Riddle.
I want them to legit be a tag team
That would be great.
because it was fun.
I think Riddle's busy, though.
You think Riddle's busy?
Oh, I'm sure he'll be onto that.
On what?
Well, he's got to fight Adam Cole later today.
Jesus. No.
He fought Adam Cole on Wednesday.
Yeah. So that's potentially done.
Nah,
So
he'll get
form a
rematch.
tag team. You can go after. I just want. You know what it should be? Matt Riddle should win. Those two should just win every belt.
Even
so
the
like
women's belt.
Keith. Well, no, but Keith Lee will beat
Especially the women's
Roderick
belt.
Strong. Matt Riddle will beat Adam Cole, and then they'll both beat Fish and O'Reilly.
Right.
Like you thought it was great when 4 of you were draped in gold. The 2 of us have all the belts
And then Samoa Joe comes in and beats them for all 4
and the
belts.
women's championship.
And the women's championship. And he's like, you thought 2 people
That's
wearing all the belts.
That's a TNA
One
reference.
all the belts.
all the belts.
That picture is amazing, though.
Yeah, but I was gonna say Matt Riddle is something special.
He is fantastic.
Yeah.
Just like Keith Lee.
So yeah, really for sure. And but I mean, not to take anything away from Keith Lee, but I like Matt Riddle more.
That's fair.
I like Keith Lee, but
I like Keith Lee more.
and I think maybe part of it could also be because like Matt Riddle's legit been given the star treatment from day one in NXT, whereas Keith Lee has kind of toiled a little bit. I mean, he was injured for a bit and whatever too, but you know, he was spending his time beating jobbers, and then he's lost to Matt Riddle's obviously lost too, which is also another great thing. Is like neither of those guys are undefeated, so you don't have that like going. But you know, so anyway, not that this is related really in any way because this was a Progress show, and you know they just all 4 happen to be on WWE contracts, but a pretty good match.
Just killing Brit Rest.
Just killing Brit. Wow, we'll get to that later. But Mustache Mountain come away with the win there,
Yeah.
which I was a little bit surprised, maybe. I don't know.
They were clearly overmatched.
Yeah, I didn't think they needed to win that for any reason. But at the same point, I don't think
It
the
didn't
Limitless
matter.
Bros needed to win either.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything beyond that. It was
Yeah.
literally just
A fun match.
a spectacle match. Yeah,
Yeah.
like check this out. This is a big card. Look at some of these names on
Yeah.
here. I doubt there's any story going forward with any of that, right? No. So, but yeah, it delivered. It was a great start right out of the gate. The only thing I will say, you talked about killing Brit Rest, is as that show started, most of that talent is on WWE contracts.
Yes.
Because the first match we had Grizzled Young Veterans and Jordan Devlin, so half of that match are on WWE contracts. Second match, half of that match on WWE contracts. Third match, all of them. And then fourth one is that are we at the women's belt?
Fourth one is none of them, although one of them
has been on
WWE
program.
TV.
Yeah, Mako Satomura, which this was a great match too.
This was a good
against
match.
Jordan Grace, and I'm interested here. So if we jump straight to the finish, Mako wins, dethrones Jordan Grace. Yeah, it was a weird setup because you had the whole Jordan Grace going. I can never remember the name of the tournament.
Nina Samuels.
Yeah, but I mean,
Millie
like
McKenzie,
specifically
gone.
why this match happens. Jordan Grace, I can't remember the name of the tournament, but fights her way, defends the belt.
Revelations of the Divine Love Tournament.
Whatever it's supposed to mean. I don't think this was the first one, which is the interesting bit. But anyway, she fights her way through that tournament, and the prize for that tournament is fighting with Mako Satomura. You get a match with Mako at Chapter 95. It's like,
she is the final boss.
Obviously, the bit must be that they couldn't get Mako for those specific shows leading up. Otherwise, it should have been the winner of that tournament gets a shot at Jordan Grace. But they did it this way for whatever reason. Jordan defended her title in every match, which was cool because you had the opportunity on that show. You knew it wasn't going to happen. But you had the storyline of like, oh, someone could legit win the title and then lose it within the same show.
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of neat. That's kind of fun. It obviously didn't happen. And in the end, though, you get Jordan Grace, Mako Satomura, a fantastic match. Jordan Grace is
a beast.
She's
a monster.
She's incredible. And, I'm interested to see where she, like, if she's done in progress, because obviously she's been working
doing stuff with TNA.
on this side of the pond, as they would say, across the pond on this side of the pond. Been doing a lot of stuff. And I think that's hampered her a little bit in being able to actually defend the progress. There's a number of matches you see if you go on to Demand Progress where she defends titles, like the title not on Progress shows.
Yeah.
So you just get these one-off matches. Which, I mean, good for her for continuing, I guess, to do it. But at the same point, it felt like she was on the last number of shows, but there were times where it's like, oh, there's not even, like, she's not even there, right? And it's like, it's, not necessarily, Walter wasn't necessarily there for every show either, but felt like he was there more and actually in stories more. So.
That's the half.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, so Meiko Satomura, new women's champ, and I'll be interested to see.
Very surprised to have won.
Oh, crap, I thought she was going to kick out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be interested, like, will she be around more? Will she defend that title? Because, I mean, in the end, I can't take anything away from Jordan Grace. She's still, in the end, defended it a number of times.
Oh, yeah.
It just felt like a lot of it was towards the back end of that reign. But here we are. I'm excited. I like change. This show had a lot of change. A lot of change.
Well, every single title.
A ton of change.
A ton of change.
Spoiler alert, every single title on this card was in new hands by the end of the show.
Yeah.
One of them, the next one, was in its first set of hands.
Well, no, second.
Well,
Vacant did show up to defend.
I don't think that's how that works. I don't think Vacant can be the first champion from inception.
The first of all of them.
I don't know if that's how that works.
52-time world champion?
52-time world champion. So we had the Proteus Rumble, which, of course, the Proteus Championship is brand new to Progress, and the idea is that whoever holds the title, gets to decide the stipulation. Now, it sounds like
the rules forever
while they hold the title. Yeah. From what I gathered from a promo that was cut after by the winner, it seems as though it's not match to match. It's literally like, this is the rule while I have the belt.
Yeah.
And so it was 30-man Rumble, 90 seconds between each person.
Probably the best Rumble I've seen in a while.
Which is awesome because, it was pretty good. I mean, obviously with like WWE, the Royal Rumble, you get like surprises. And sometimes those surprises are like, oh, great, Tatanka's back.
Yeah.
Like things like that. It's like, who cares?
But then some of them are like, oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like obviously you look at things like AJ Styles debuting, stuff like that. But so like the surprises in this show were like, for me, none of them were really like, whoa, because most of the surprises were people who I was mostly unfamiliar with.
Or very vaguely, like Session Moth Martina.
Right. Yeah, she came. Or I mean, obviously Eddie Kingston we've gotten to know over the last little while.
Yeah.
I feel. Oh, there's Jeeton Money,
who we love.
Yeah. Who obviously was he lost in the first round of the NPS, but so there were some names that were like, oh yeah, you're not necessarily on Progress regularly.
We got to see Chief Deputy Dunn.
Yeah, with the Anti-Fun Police were there,
and Los Federalis,
and they were dancing.
No, Dunn didn't dance.
Yeah, it's like Dunn didn't dance, but before he got in the ring, Santos Jr. was dancing with Session Moth Martina, Gene Money, and Travis Banks.
And what's Sugar Dunkerton?
Yeah,
the allure
that's
of
how
Sugar
it started,
Dunkerton.
I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was just him and Session.
He danced with different people though, one on one, and he finally got
Session, and then Gene joined in,
Yeah.
and then Travis was like, "What are you guys doing? Let's fight!"
Yeah.
And then they tried to get him to dance, and then his legs started twitching. He's like
couldn't
trying to
control it.
stop it. He couldn't control it.
Yeah,
and then they started dancing,
So they did,
and then Los Federalis came in and she was like, "No fun, stop it!"
but then he danced.
But he couldn't help it.
Yeah.
The allure.
That's the allure. No fun done. Chief Deputy Dunn. He shut it all down.
He shut it down.
No, thank you.
And then very quickly they got eliminated.
Yeah, it was good. It was fun. It had its moments.
Sadly, the end was slightly muddled.
So
because Spike Trivet had to leave the match due to injury.
Yeah, I mean, we assume that.
Well, that's what they said.
The ending was. No. But we assume that it was supposed to be because in the end, who did it? I'm trying to think who the finals were because obviously, Do Not Resuscitate had 3 members in there, so it was Mambo, and Duggan.
Mambo, Ever, Duggan, and Dragunov and Paul Robinson were the last 5.
But who was the final? Like
the final 4 were Dragunov, Ever, Robinson, and Duggan.
Yeah, but who were the final? Does it say who the final 2 were? That's right. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, it's Robinson and Duggan.
Okay, I couldn't remember if Ilya got eliminated before.
Yeah, Ever eliminated.
But so the first 2 in the match, were they the last 2 in the match? Well, like within the last 2?
Last 3, yeah.
Yeah,
so Ever...
Because Ilya was number 2 in that match, right?
Eliminated Mambo and Ever, and then Ever came back in and yanked Dragunov off.
So anyway, Paul Robinson ends up winning, which was something that... So he lost... I don't know if it was last chapter or a couple chapters ago, whatever. He lost the match to William Ever, which meant he was first in the match. Ever was 30th in the match.
Yeah.
And Robbo went post to post.
Yeah.
Did it all.
Coast to coast.
Coast to coast, post to post. He wins it. And I don't know if I'd say completing the face turn, because I feel like it had been done.
Yeah.
But I mean,
his Walter match kind of I think, completed
and the
it.
promo that he cut before that match,
Yeah.
I think was like, wait, what's happening with Paul Robinson right now?
Yeah.
And so he is the Proteus champ, and his stipulation that we were alluding to earlier is that while he is the champion, to win you either have to
knock him out
or tap him out. Yeah.
And if you use the belt as a weapon or touch it during a match, you're immediately disqualified.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, sounds interesting enough. So
seems good, yeah.
So you got either he can't answer the 10 count, or because I'm assuming knock him out does not mean cover for a 3. It's a 10 count.
Knock him, yeah.
Or get him to submit. And he cut a pretty good promo in regards to that. That was something that was spoiled for me via Twitter. I knew
they showed the promo.
Yeah, well, no, what it was, I didn't watch the promo.
Oh, yeah.
But literally, I didn't even read the whole blurb. I just saw what it says, like Paul Robinson. It was like unveils first stipulation.
Yeah.
Like, shit.
Whoopsie.
Well, I know what that is.
Well, I mean, I called it immediately. I'm like, either he beats Ever in his 30 and he wins it by being like, one other guy is there, or he goes coast to coast.
Yeah, and I mean, spoiling it versus actually seeing it happen, regardless of if you predict it, seeing it happen is more of a payoff.
Such the payoff, though. It was so great.
Speaking of spoilers,
this is what
I had spoiled,
and then I very shortly spoiled it for myself.
Yeah, because you're an idiot.
Well, I was looking up. What was it? It was...
You probably were looking up the history of the Progress title because you're a dum-dum.
Eddie Dennis or Cara Noir matches.
Right.
And then I clicked on Eddie Dennis by accident and saw... Because I was wondering when his last match was.
Right.
In regards to the ladder match.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you go back a year to Wembley Arena... Him and Eddie Dennis and Mark Andrews had a match where nobody could go through a table.
No.
It was I think it was a TLC match specifically. I don't think it was just a ladder match, but yeah. And up for grabs. Now, I don't remember if the title shot was just put up for grabs just because, or for some reason in my mind, it was a title shot that Mark Andrews had and he put on the line. So I don't remember. All I remember is at the top that they had to climb was a clipboard with a piece of paper on it.
Yes.
Kind of funny. But Eddie Dennis won that match. And then it was funny because when I got it spoiled for me on Twitter, I was like, how did that happen? Because what it was Mark Andrews posted a picture of him and Eddie Dennis, and it said, congrats, champ. And I was like, wait, what? Because the last we saw of Eddie Dennis in Progress, he basically said, he flat out said, I'm chasing my dreams in WWE. I can't afford any more injuries outside of it, so I can't perform in a Progress ring anymore. Basically, retiring from Progress. Mm-hmm. Okay, we still haven't seen him in NXT UK since then.
So coming to
we come
95.
Yeah, we come full. So when I saw the spoiler, I was like, he had a title shot. I don't know. I mean, that was all I knew. I was like, I know he comes away with the title. I don't know what happens because I'm like, I'm not looking into this. I want to see how this happens. And then. Because, of course, the title match is David Starr versus Walter, the big story here.
Great match.
David Starr's 13th time fighting Walter. He's 0-12 going in, right? Not even just in singles. Well, no, that can't be.
No, he's beat Walter in non-championship matches.
I don't think he has.
Well, he beat him in singles matches.
He hasn't.
Well, he tapped out
his story in Over the Top was he was 0-10 at the first time he teamed up with Devlin to fight Walter, and then there was a breakup there because he felt Devlin cost them the match and whatever. But they did win, except this it wasn't. Did he tap? I think it was OJMO tapped out Irie.
No,
and he held Walter back.
OJMO was holding Walter back.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. Well, David tapped out Irie. And because David was staring at him while Ojmo had
I'd say there was for sure a tie to...
I mean, there's no way in the world OJMO could have held Walter down like that.
No, well, that was what was funny. Well, either of them really.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't think he has... that. Like I think that's the only victory. And again, he didn't defeat Walter.
Yeah.
Walter's team lost in that match. But so, I mean, huge story going into that, right? Like, and I think the 0-13 might have also just been like singles matches or 0-12 or whatever. But...
yeah. No, this was number 13. Yeah. So 0-12.
Lucky number 13. But anyway, so I mean, you had a big enough story going in there. Of course, he won Super Strong Style 16 this year, which is what set that whole thing up. And so I'm like, well, how does this happen? How does Eddie Dennis end up the champion? And I was like, yeah, he had that title shot. And I was assuming what happened was after the finish, because then I was also like, is there a heel turn here?
Right.
Because this seems weird, right? Not refusing to look into it.
Yeah.
And, and so I assumed what happened was, I was like, well, if there's a heel turn, I think David Starr wins. And then Eddie Dennis comes out and is like, by the way, I'm cashing in. Sorry. Instead, he comes out like as the match is going on.
Super close. David Starr was literally on the verge of beating Walter.
Yeah, yeah. And I think, did the ref take a bump? Yeah. Because Starr's just like frantically like
15 and David Starr's just sitting there chanting and shouting.
Yeah. And then Dennis's music hits. He comes out and he's all like
holding the clipboard.
Yeah, about this title shot, and he's like, this is a triple threat. And he's by himself.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, interesting. So he goes down to the ring, and before he's even in the ring, he still has the mic. He's like, by the way, triple threats are no DQ, as a masked, hooded man jumps into the ring with a steel chair and just lays out David Starr.
Wastes him.
Absolutely wastes him. And then I can't remember if it's before or after the next anyway, he takes the hood off, the mask off, and it's Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
It's like, by God, like that's what I didn't necessarily see. That's what was more intriguing to me than Eddie Dennis cashing in.
Yeah.
I was like, because it's a picture of them together that was shared, and congrats, champ, with the belt. And I'm like, if there's a heel turn, did Mark turn with him? Because that is like, for me, for Mark's character, that's out of this world for me.
Right.
Right?
He's been a face from chapter 1.
Now, the story, as far as we know, but the story with Eddie Dennis and Mark Andrews leading up to the Wembley match, though, there were a lot of people who viewed Mark Andrews as the heel in that. Like they're like, Eddie Dennis has a good point, like in what he's saying. Mark Andrews was never acting like a heel, like he wasn't coming out like interfering and like doing the typical heel stuff. But at the same point,
it
was
very
like
selfish.
Yeah, it was like, wow, can you really argue with what Eddie Dennis is saying? Like,
right.
Maybe Mark is the asshole in this.
Yeah.
But so in the end, it's a full on heel turn. Because also the last time we saw Eddie Dennis, making the crowd laugh, he's having a good time. This is great.
Changing the rules for progress.
Now he's 110% the baddest man in in progress.
He and Robbo just completely
they swapped, which is fantastic. But what I was going to say, before he pins David Starr, he takes the folding chair, puts David Starr's head in it,
and stomps on the chair.
And doesn't stomp on the legs, like stomps on the chair. Right?
Yeah.
It's like it looked vicious, and then he pins him with one foot on his chest. It's like, oh, so he didn't actually do it. I don't even know if he's cleared yet. He didn't do a single thing in that match outside of put his foot on David Starr's chest
and stomp on a chair.
And then he cut a hell of a promo.
Oh.
You alluded to it earlier with the killing Brit Rest, right? Because so that's a thing right now. People talking about the British independent wrestling scene dying because of NXT UK and all of that talent being funneled there. And he basically says, you guys are going to get upset at a big company coming in here and giving us a chance to make a decent living. That didn't kill Brit Rest. You killed Brit Rest. He cuts off a great promo or whatever. I'm like, yep. Eddie Dennis and Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews didn't say a thing, but full on
just
heel mode, and I'm here for it. And then they dropped it basically what did he say?
We are FSU.
We are FSU, and then
we are here to F.
Yeah, he's like, we're gonna make a mess.
Yeah.
So
should be good.
Very intrigued to see where we go with that.
Very exciting.
That took us half an hour.
That took us a very long time.
Progress 95,
but that was, it is Discover Progress.
It's true. It's
so
true.
lightning round through AEW.
Yeah, I was gonna say the funny thing is that took us half an hour to get through that, and we have the biggest week in wrestling in recent history that we just experienced. So NXT UK, real quick, we'll talk about because we're over in the UK right now.
It was good. It was decent.
It was fine. There's a apparently a match between the Grizzled Young Vets and Ashton Smith and a mystery partner. We're going to go out on a limb and say Kenny Williams. That's my guess as to who his partner is going to be, which is okay.
T-Bone.
No. I think it'll be Kenny
Saxon
Williams.
Huxley?
I was racking my brain. Oh, no, you know who it could be? I can't remember his name.
Guy.
The guy from Ghana.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name right now.
Brad, Chad, Frank.
I don't remember. Throw those names out there. He's
Oliver Carter.
Oh, that's it.
I figured it out.
I'll say he's been in 2 matches, I think.
Yeah.
Lost both of them. So who knows? Maybe we'll see that. We also had Tegan Knox against Kaylee Ray
in a non-title match.
Yeah, and you were taking up issue with this match because Tegan Nox loses clean.
Yeah.
And it's her second. I mean, here's my problem.
It was her second,
match. And her first match was a squash.
Yeah, and then Kaylee comes out and is just in her giant
she
glass
could throw
box,
stones,
chucking stones.
And you know what?
Like a mad woman.
Mad woman. She chucked stones and she survived.
She was chucking the stones and she hit
got
Tegan right in
glass.
the nose.
Yeah. She had just one little hole cut in her shatterproof glass box and just pinged the stone through there and hit Tegan right in the nose, right in the knee, actually.
Right in both knees. It just ricocheted between them and she fell over and died.
I mean, it was a good match.
It was a good match. It was. It didn't make sense to me this quickly for Tegan Nox to even be like a factor in the Kaylee Ray stuff.
But you would find out the next day why.
Yes.
She was there purely because she's Welsh, and it's still in Cardiff. So she gets the hometown pop. Give the fans like that. Yeah, she lost, but give the fans that match because she's going to NXT.
Yeah.
She is. They announced it this week on NXT. They showed like a little promo.
They actually showed the same promo they did on NXT UK.
Yeah. So she's coming over here. I mean, she could float. So far, Imperium's floating, right? Like, she very well could float, but I think her place is going to be in NXT. And you know what? Mm-hmm. You don't need her winning the UK Women's Championship. You just put her in a high-profile match because you happen to be in her home country. That's cool. That's fine by me. It was very WWE in the fact that I remember there was a stretch there where it seemed like they always made a superstar who was going to be fighting in their hometown for a big match. They made him lose. Yeah. But
we had bad news. Ilya Dragunov not medically cleared to compete.
Yeah.
Story-wise, not sure if it's real.
Yeah,
haven't heard a lot of news.
No.
Alexander Wolf decided to.
Yeah, it seems as though Imperium
have eyes for
either have
Russian
eyes
friend.
for Ilya, which makes sense with who Imperium is.
Yeah.
Or it's just they're
throwing smoke.
Yeah, they're
throwing shade at him.
And so the story could because Ilya is the guy who I see eventually down the line beating Walter. Yeah. So you could have the story where Ilya literally goes through everybody in Imperium and then finally getting to Walter and. Yeah. Whether he gets over or not, who knows?
And then we had Isla Dawn versus Piper Niven.
Yeah, it was fine.
Wolf taking the place of Dragunov in a match against the Muscle Cat, the Ultrasonic Inspector.
Yeah, and then
what do we? Huxley.
Oh, then we were supposed to have a match between Jack Stars and the guy,
basically the
godfather of Welsh
wrestling.
I forget his name. Was it Mike something? Yeah. But anyway,
Mike Bird.
Yeah, I think that might be right. But then. Gallus come out.
Not the good part of Gallus.
Yeah, specifically Wolfgang and Mark Coffey.
A third of the good part of Gallus came out.
Yeah, they come out and they're all like basically making fun of him and then start beating him up. And then
South Wales Subculture comes out.
Yeah, because I guess he trained them. Whether it's true or not, like that's the whole story there is he trained Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. So they come out to make the save and then Joe comes out.
It's funny though because they were running out and there was someone else behind them.
I was like,
and we're like, who the heck is that? And then he just floored Mark Andrews.
Yeah, didn't even give him a chance to put up a fight.
Yeah.
It was just like, no, I'm here with you guys. Yeah. You didn't see me standing right behind you in Gorilla? Sorry, that's your fault.
Whoopsies.
So dead. But it was a fine week of NXT UK.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it wasn't anything to like write home about.
No, it's tricky too though because like as far as that show was concerned, it was a regular show.
Yeah.
But then you had two other shows this week that happened that were putting it all on the line.
Yeah.
So it felt very much just like, it's fine. It's fine. So let's get into those two shows putting it all on the line. And of course, putting it all on the line because one of them, it's their debut. As a show in general. The other one is, its debut in its now
2 hours,
now home time slot. Yeah, the last couple weeks it was a weird split. But we got AEW Dynamite, which debuted this week, 2 hours on TNT. TNT? Yeah, I always got TNT and TNN confused. TNT going head to head with NXT. On USA / the next day on the WWE Network. One thing I'm sure we could look into this is whether or not they air at exactly the same time.
Yeah, I'm
curious to know about that. But so anyway, I know you didn't watch Dynamite, and
I watched a very poorly edited.
Highlights.
Highlight reel.
We're like, what the hell is wrong with this?
I mistakenly thought was
like legit
done, put up,
AEW.
posted on AEW's YouTube page. It was not. No. So I apologize for me saying these are some of the worst edits ever because they were.
Don't apologize. They were terrible.
Well, they were terrible, but
people. This is what I want to say.
I thought it was AEW doing it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'm like, that would be an interesting play by AEW if they put up like a 20-minute highlight package.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of neat, And then, but this person, the edits were just like, why don't you
slice them in the middle of the
edits
words
that don't make any
stuff?
sense? Yeah. Like anyway, whatever.
5 seconds.
So
cuts.
Dynamite, I kind of skimmed through it because I watched it afterwards, and it was fine. This is what I'll say. It was a very good show. But at this point, it still felt like it didn't feel like a TV show. It still felt like they're putting on pay-per-views, which is what they were doing.
Yeah.
It was their debut. You knew, and the reason I was watching, big. I was like, "What's going to happen? That's going to be big." And some good matches, like Adam Page and Pac had a great match. What else? Cody, I was annoyed. Cody and Sammy Guevara. It was a good match it gave a good look to Sammy Guevara.
Yeah.
But I still get a little bit annoyed with Cody sometimes in the fact that, of course, it just seems so like, of course.
Cody
First
wins,
match on AEW TV, it's Cody. First guy out, it's Cody. And it's like, because him more than anybody you could say he didn't put himself in the main event there, sure. But him more than anybody just always feels like he's patting himself on the back.
Yeah.
But
I think that's the idea. I hope.
And you know what? I hope that's just the writing that they're doing, which is then really weird when you get to the end of the show and you have what is clearly a heel faction, and Cody is a part of this face faction. But if you're writing him to look like this guy who just can't get over being burned by WWE, then what are you doing? Like that makes zero sense. But if we fast forward, we do have of course they had their women's title. We have a women's champ now in AEW, which is Riho. It's a good match.
Yeah.
David versus Goliath type match. Again, they put it all out there. The one match that I thought was going to be a squash match wasn't even a squash match. I was like, they avoided that, which NXT for the most part did as well this week. I will say they didn't bring anyone out there to lose in 4 minutes. But the main event was a good show, was a good main event, and it was nothing to write home about necessarily, but it was fine.
Jericho
but
and
of course,
his mystery partners.
Well, and you had, which I think they announced it beforehand, but we kind of knew who it was going to be.
It was LAX.
Yeah. And then, of course, Jon Moxley, though, shows up in the main event, taking out Kenny Omega. So we've got that story going again because that got stalled out when Moxley got hurt.
But he's back.
Omega fought Pac instead. So it is what it is. And then, of course, the big thing at the end, I was
Cody
like, okay.
comes out to make the save.
Yeah, I was like, something's going to happen at the end. And, of course, at the end of the match, so Omega's out, so the match is over. Jericho and
LAX
Ortiz and Santana. Yeah, they're not LAX anymore.
Oh, yeah, there's Santana and Ortiz.
Yeah, there was some alliteration thing I saw, or what's it called? Like PF, anyways, whatever. But yeah, so they start beating on him, and then Guevara comes out.
Yeah.
And then at that point, Cody comes out to make the save, and even Dustin comes out, like Dustin Rhodes comes out to make the save. And I think that was that it on the face side? And I forget how they come out in what order. But anyways, in the end, Jake Hager, a.k.a. Jack Swagger, comes out. It was funny. It looked like he was fighting so hard not to do it, because at the end, Jericho's standing there with all of his men. Right, and they're all just like, "Wow." Whether or not Moxley is a part of that, people were lumping Moxley in with that group. He wasn't there at the end because he took Omega out, and they went dancing in the back. But yeah, Swag, they're all like kind of standing there, like standing over the fallen elite, and it had very much like an invasion sort of vibe to it. I don't understand Guevara's part in all that. Maybe because like when you look at it, it's like, oh well, Jericho ex WWE, Moxley if he's a part of that ex WWE, Hager ex-WWE, Santana and Ortiz, ex-TNA, and then you look at Guevara. I'm like, well, maybe he was maybe he did TNA. I don't know, or he's just like, I'm a smart guy. But
he knows what his bread is about.
Yeah,
it's MJF. Who had a match as well.
Yeah, that was the one match that I thought might be a squash match, and then it wasn't. Like they fought for a bit, but it was. I mean, all in all, it was a good show. I didn't take too much away from it. I was glad, I was like, okay, it wasn't a train wreck, which I didn't expect it to be. I mean, they've got a few large pay-per-views under their belt already. They know how to do a live show. I think they learned their lessons from All In when the main event had to be cut to 6 minutes because everyone else went flipping off the rails and went long. So, I mean, it was timed well, but it looks of it. I was blown away when, because at the end, I think it was when Hager debuted, the crowd was chanting, holy shit, and JR says, if you said holy shit, you'd be right. I'm like, what? I was like, I want to hear that because it's on TSN up here. I'm like, did they allow that? Did they, like, I wonder if they edited it up here. Like, so I'm like, I kind of want to go back and watch that and see if he legit said, like, if it made the cut. But, yeah, I mean, Tony Schiavone sounded great. And I'm going to be the guy, and maybe it's because I grew up and I had a soft spot for WCW, but I thought he sounded better than JR. They sound great together. Yeah. But it is a bit too, sometimes I'm like, okay, you're definitely. It's a bit
too Attitude Era.
You're definitely hearkening back to the WCW days, right? Like, even their ring has always reminded me of it, like the gray canvas with the black cable ropes and stuff. But anyway, that I don't know that those comparisons will ever go away. But one thing I will say. Two things I will say before we talk about NXT. In relation to the two shows, though, NXT and AEW, after week one, I guess AEW won the ratings this week. Right. Now, I don't know if this will ever actually make sense to judge them that way because NXT has built a fan base that has relied on the network to watch it for basically a lot of it since it's like the inception of what it is now, right? And the thing is that with that, you know, you might watch it
when they need to watch.
Well, they may have watched it when it originally ran. Yeah. I mean, not knowing that it's not live, there wasn't really a big drive to be like, oh, I got to make sure I watch it at 8:00 or whatever, right? But at the same point, most people probably watched it. We always watched it the day after, stuff like that, right? Like, so like people watching it on demand, I'm like, I don't know if you can actually compare AEW, which is live on TV, to NXT, which is live on TV, but most of its hardcore fans have watched it in a very different way. Yeah. That's not even the comparisons I was going to make, but I'll be interested to see how they like kind of look at that going forward. If they like combine like the USA numbers plus the next day network numbers, like when it originally airs on the network, not the on-demand stuff. Because I mean, AEW you can get on demand. We can get it on demand up here on TSN and stuff like that. Like you can do that. But as far as like when it airs, but the two things I was going to say: one, AEW makes NXT venue-wise
look tiny,
look like like it is a second-rate show in comparison to AEW. But AEW right now is doing the touring thing. They're doing the arena shows, whereas NXT has that home-built Full Sail. I'll be interested to see if they keep that going forward.
They have a loud, invested crowd.
Yeah, but you could hear that like AEW's crowd was loud too, but it was loud in like
this is 14
plus thousand to compared to under 1,000 people. Yeah, right?
Like it's kind of hard.
Yeah. The other thing, I will give the nod to AEW's announce team. While I think I like Morrow more than JR is like your number one guy. Yeah. They're close enough. I think Shivani and Nigel are kind of close enough. I might give the nod a little bit, and that's nostalgia to Shivani.
Right.
But then the difference is
between Beth and Excalibur.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't mind Beth. I liked when they brought Beth in.
Yeah, she will become better.
Maybe. The thing is she's just not adding anything to matches, right? Like, whereas and that's the difference is like on NXT, Morrow is your play-by-play 100%. Yeah. You know, Nigel might react a little bit by like calling out some moves, but for the most part is adding that color, and then obviously, Beth is adding her color as well. But then on AEW, it's like they're just all doing play-by-play in color, like their own variations. And so Excalibur, I think, actually wins it for AEW. But we'll talk about NXT. This episode is going long. It was a long one, but
super long.
But NXT this week, we had three titles up for grabs and some debuts or returns, I guess you should say, that spoiled it. Yeah, funny story. Okay, so going back to Twitter, I was communicating with someone on Twitter, and so I was checking my Twitter to see get up, and I saw this one notification that I got, and it was from Finn Balor, like not to me, but it was just like Finn Balor tweeted, and I was like, I wasn't even thinking that I shouldn't look at it. Because I was like, I wasn't expecting.
Finn Balor, he's on the main roster.
Yeah, and then literally it just said, I think the hashtag was Finn Balor is NXT or something like that. And I was like, the hell? I was like, no. And then we run into each other at work, and you're like, oh, you texted me first. You're like, I totally got something spoiled for NXT. And I was like, oh, was it something that happened or like a debut/return? And you're like a debut/return. And then so I mimed Finn Balor's entrance. You're like, no. I'm like, shit. I'm like, well, sorry. Guess who comes back? Yeah. And then as we would find out, and this is what we can discuss. We'll go through the match. So Adam Cole retains over Matt Riddle in a barn burner of a match.
Hits him with gas. Wonk.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Fantastic. Good match.
Classic play. The women's title, I was going to say Io. Why do I keep saying Io?
Well, Io had a match.
Yeah, no, I know, but
she won.
Shayna Baszler beats Candice LeRae. Maybe it's because I just always think Candice and Io are going to be fighting forever. Shayna beats Candice, retaining her belt in another really good match.
Completely ruining our idea of Candice and Io fighting for the belt.
Right.
Well,
not
Shayna
yet.
goes up to the main roster.
Still be a thing.
That's true. We got time.
But we did realize that it's been. They mentioned it's like this month is 1 year since
her second reign started.
Yeah, since her second reign started. Impressive.
Oh, that's what I was going to look up how long her combined reigns were, and you stopped. I was like, no, wait.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. I was like,
during the match.
Yeah, I'm like, don't be an idiot. And then the tag titles in another great match.
Yeah.
The Undisputed Era, Fish and O'Reilly, hang on, they beat Street Profits with a little help from Roddy Strong. So. And there were some other matches,
than Wally.
Some other matches that happened in there that we don't need to go through because what I wanted to talk about was a couple of things. One, I brought up the idea, and I'd be curious to know because it was weird as hell that the NXT title match was the first match on the show.
Right.
Now these two things play into each other. What I want to talk about versus the tag titles being the main event.
Right.
My question is. Because you had an idea, but I was like, I think they put the tag titles in the main event because AEW has made it a mission of theirs, specifically the Young Bucks, in saying, we want to make tag team wrestling not necessarily relevant again, but like
great again.
Bring it into the main event again, right? And I'm like, that's fair. Young Bucks have been doing that. They put it in, like them or hate them, they put on shows.
Yeah.
I like them. You're not a big fan of them. You know, they're spot fest heavy. That's fine.
Yeah.
But, so I was wondering, it's like, I could see like Triple H, NXT, WWE being like, okay, we're going to fire one across the bow. We got some tag teams that can go. Mm-hmm. So part of me was like, when you didn't spoil, like you're like, it's at the end. I was like, oh, I wonder if it'd be like someone like the Revival coming back to be like, okay,
that would be cool.
You want to do tag team wrestling? We will do tag team wrestling. Now, that obviously ended up not being the case. It wasn't the Revival. And then I was like, I know who it is. Because they showed him in like an opening montage. I was like, it's going to be Tommaso Ciampa. And I was
champs.
Like, and I was kind of like,
The greatest.
I love Tommaso
sports
Ciampa.
entertainer.
I think he's great. But my argument is the Finn Balor thing is bigger.
But I think that's why they had also, because you wanted the face-to-face Finn and Cole.
Yeah.
You wanted Finn to like actually announce. So you needed Cole not to have backup.
Right.
And you wanted to start off. You want the show to start off strong.
Sure.
So having a barn burner of a match between Cole and Riddle,
they were all going to be barn burners.
Capping it off with Finn Balor coming out, being like,
"I'm
here to stay."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I just think you could have done the exact same thing and got that pop at the end of the show. And I mean, I get like him being able to come down to the ring and have that.
Yeah.
Right. It also could have been cool if Tommaso came out earlier. And then when Cole came out at the end of that match, Tommaso came out again, and then the lights cut and Balor's music hits, and everyone's like, what the hell? Like, what? And then there's just like three guys that are standing there like looking at each other. Because I'm assuming that's where we're going.
Yeah.
We're going to get a triple threat, and it's going to be a ridiculous match.
Goodness. Tomato Champs had eyes only for Goldie.
Yeah. Or I'm curious, because obviously the next pay-per-view we're heading towards, or the next takeover we're heading towards
is War
Games. And I'm like, what could you do here? What could you do here? I would be interested because we've tossed around the idea of like
Imperium,
NXT versus NXT UK versus 205. Yeah, so like Imperium would be NXT UK, Undisputed NXT, and then you have a stable of guys from 205 Live or whatever. Yeah. But I was also like, could you do something along the lines like I would rather? I think I'd kind of rather if that's going to be a triple threat match, just have that happen. That'll be fantastic. Yeah. Don't make it War Games, but you could also do something interesting where it's like, okay, you have Undisputed Era.
Yeah.
Tommaso Ciampa finds a group,
yeah,
which would involve Johnny Gargano and then
probably
Street
Finn.
Profits or something.
Yeah.
Finn Balor finds a group.
Okay.
Puts a group together, which involves guys who have made their names elsewhere.
Leo.
Well, I was gonna say you could have like Matt Riddle.
You
could Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and
Keith
then one
Lee,
other guy.
yeah.
Like I don't know, but it could be interesting. I'll be interested to see where we go.
Just dropping news everywhere.
Yeah, that's not
he's still
news.
in ROH.
Yeah,
Contract's coming up, I think.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
I read some rumors.
Yeah, you got to assume he's going to AEW. And like the way
WWE, if he does, he's not going to NXT. If he does come to WWE, there's no way.
No, he would if he came to WWE. I don't think he'd want to go anywhere but NXT.
I guess, yeah.
Like, let's be honest, but he's not going to. He's going to go be with his buddies, and I think that's already. While the contract isn't in place, I think that's in place because when you count the numbers, if Jon Moxley is a part of Jericho's group,
they're short a guy,
they're outnumbering the Elite,
and that's not including Dustin.
Right. So, I mean, I guess Dustin could join the Elite, or Marty Scurll.
I love Dustin, but
yeah, I mean, he's a placeholder right now. They'll wipe him out, and it's like Dustin can't go. Shoot, we're short a guy. Ooh, ooh. Oh, okay, we're not short a guy anymore. Chicken wing! Oh, God, chicken wings for everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't work as well as like RKO's and stuff, though.
No,
he's just chicken winging someone. Chicken wing someone.
No, see, it's like a chicken wing train.
Right.
He puts it's like the Jushin Thunder Liger thumb in the butt thing.
He chicken wings a guy so hard, he chicken wings the guy in front of him, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, it just keeps going down the line. Just a bunch of chicken wings.
And then he flips them all over.
Meanwhile, he's on the bottom getting crushed.
Yeah.
I couldn't even ask you which show you thought was better because you didn't watch.
I didn't watch AEW. I think. I can't.
This is what I'm going to say.
I can't honestly say which one I like better. You barely even watch all of AEW.
No, I watched most of it.
Yeah.
Like out of the 2 hours, I'd say I watched an hour and a half. Like I was just skimming through things.
Yeah.
I'd watch for like 5 minutes and be like, okay, let's skip ahead a little bit. And then, but I did miss the Moxley thing. The one skip I made, I was like, dang it. But this is what I will say. NXT, I think I enjoyed most of the matches more.
Yeah.
I mean, Hangman Page and Pac was great. Like they both had, I would say for sure, like Hangman Page and Pac, Cody and Guevara, and then the main event were all good matches.
Right.
But I think like Matt Riddle and Adam Cole might have been the match of the whole thing.
Right.
Like everything, right? And then like the tag match was great. I'll give the edge to NXT because I liked, I mean, while it was spoiled for me, Finn Balor, to me, I was like, that's cooler than freaking Jack Swagger.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Jake Hager has been great, I guess, in MMA.
He's
and,
legit MMA
and he
guy.
and like, I mean, seeing him in AEW and like as beast of a man as he looked standing next to, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But at the same point, I was like, I was never a Jack Swagger fan.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, okay, whatever. But and you know, same with, I mean, Moxley had already debuted. Obviously, he's had a match and stuff. But like that one, I'm like, yeah, okay. Whereas like Finn Balor, I'm like, okay, I'm so glad he's home, right? I'm like, yes, let's see what they do with this. Tommaso Ciampa, great to have him back. I felt like they pulled those moments off a little better. But at the same point, the overall feel of AEW just felt so much
bigger,
grander. Like it's crazy because like I haven't been watching Raw or SmackDown, like larger audience shows outside of takeovers and the odd pay-per-view. So like the fact that NXT just felt so small. And I feel like they intentionally blacked out the crowd to like kind of draw away from that a little bit. That's like, yeah, we're in a smaller venue. We know that. They're not shying away from it, but to like try and make the look less obvious. That's like, oh, you're in front of 800 people or whatever, you know, Full Sail holds versus 14,000 people. Whether AEW continually gets 14,000 people, you know, even a year down the road, I don't know. Maybe it works. Maybe a year down the road, NXT is traveling. You never know, right?
Don't.
Like it's the going live every week for 2 is the start to that because now you no longer have to go. Okay, we need to be at Full Sail, you know, like and here go the tapings and whatever. So who knows?
I mean, NXT is already their third touring brand, but they don't tour
their show.
Show.
They have their
like
live
they don't
shows.
tape the show.
Yeah, but even their live shows for the most part just tour around like the Florida area. They
They
occasionally
do
branch
some
out. Yeah,
West Coast and a bit of like Northeast.
Yeah.
They never come to us.
No, whatever. Maybe one day. But anyway, I mean, as far as the show is concerned and the matches, I think, you know, the marquee matches, I'm going to give it to NXT. I feel like they actually had more matches.
They had 5 matches.
They have just the 5 because they had the 3 title matches. Danny Burch and Pete Dunne,
and then
Io and Mia.
Mia
I
Yim.
guess it was just 5,
Yeah,
wasn't
just
it?
5.
Wasn't another one in there?
No.
So maybe it was about the same.
I think AEW had 4.
Well,
They had Cody.
yeah, they had Cody
and Sammy.
They had the women's match. They had the big tag match. They had MJF,
And Brandon.
Cutler.
And that's it.
Was that it?
I think so.
Might have been it. I can't remember.
I mean, match count doesn't play into it.
No, I was just
It's
surprised.
The quality
It
of
was
the
like,
matches,
there was-
right?
Yeah, mind you, 5 matches over 2 hours when they were typically doing 3 matches over an hour. I
Yeah.
was like, well, it wasn't, but they let those matches go. Some of those matches. But anyway, so yeah, here we go. Buckle up. The ride is happening.
Yeah.
But,
Insert your quarters.
insert your quarters. Okay. It's like one of those rides at the mall.
Yeah.
Out of all of that, NXT UK had the quote of the week.
Yes, which is funny.
Which is funny. It's so perfect. So anyway, that is going to do it. We're about to get out of here. Of course, this has been Discover Progress. You can find us wherever you find podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, or whatever, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube. You can find us at allwrestling.com. Make sure you find us on our social medias at Disc Progress. The Instagram show, that's the Adam Show.
Failing at it.
Failing at it. Man alive.
Great.
And the Twitter show,
That's
at Disc
that guy.
Progress. That's me, David. But that will do it for this week. So adios, my friends.